What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video here at Fisherman's Warehouse. I'm joined by the Double K, the king of crappie, Bobby Barrick.
Yes.
His favorite intro ever.
Yes.
Today, we're going to be talking crappie fishing. Well, more specifically, you're going to be talking crappie fishing, and I'm going to be learning how to crappie fish for the first time in my life. We've got quite a splattering of different crappie baits in front of us. Some look kind of familiar to me. There are even a couple bass baits in here, which I like. So that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable for what we're going to learn today. But I know you have all the knowledge on how to catch those delicious little slab fish. And I know a lot of guys that have been catching them throughout here, in California recently. So take us away. Teach me how to catch crappie today.
Okay, well, we'll try to do that. First of all, those of you, I live in Texas now. And before I left California, my last 3 days with my rig here in California, I fished the Sims event with Aaron Martins and my cousin Travis. That was my last day with my rig on the California Delta, and it was an amazing day. The last 3 days that I spent in the state of California was on Clear Lake crappie fishing. And I went to my buddy Wally Smith's place, and he said, "Place is yours. Knock yourself out." And he goes, and oh, by the way, the lake does have largemouth bass in it too, because he knows how much I love crappie. Clear Lake is the most special. It's the crappie factory of the planet. I mean, it is. Treat yourself to that. You won't. I can't even sit here and explain to you what an amazing time you will have. If you've got the 5, 7, 8-year-old, if you got the wife that loves to fish, that doesn't get to go, everybody wants to go catch. They don't want to go just fishing. They want to go catching. So if you want to take them fishing and catching and be the super dad, go to Clear Lake, March, April, and especially May, and take some of this stuff that we're fixing to talk about with you. And you just got to figure out whether they'll chase it or whether they want it dropped on their nose and sitting motionless. That's what you have to figure out. That's the whole trick to fishing for crappie. So we've got a variety of different baits here. And for me, I love the big bite stuff. I know that the there's a bunch of this can be a little bit tricky because sometimes they get into that eye thing where they just like things with a big eye. It's that false eye on shad, sometimes that's a big deal. Sometimes a big eye on Rick Teets is like that. Rick Teets has got Blade Runner products. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I loved about Rick Teets baits is he gets it, the big eye. It's a big, big deal. Sometimes that's what it takes. Gets their attention. Bass, crappie, they just love that. So sometimes that can be a major player. But get you some 32nd, some 64th, up to an 1/8 ounce. Just a few packs of each. Crappie love pink. San Francisco shad, whatever you want to call. I used to always call pink bubble gum. I used to call it San Francisco shad. But you got to make sure you got 32nd ounce, 64th ounce, and an 1/8 ounce. 16th ounce and an 1/8 ounce, okay? 2, 3, 4 packages of each. Get you some San Francisco shad and get you some white and then get you a version of chartreuse. That way you got it all covered, okay? Because they get pretty temperamental at times. You're going to get a rod, and Bryn Ayler told me this. I was in Las Vegas. I was out in front of one of them casinos, and I had fishing line all over the place. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I was trying to wind some of that fluorocarbon on my little sissy reel, my little spinning reel. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm trying to put this," and I had it coiled and kinked, and I had it everywhere. It was that FC Sniper or whatever it was. And he goes, "Why aren't you using 6-pound braid?" We're on Lake Mead. You can read a newspaper in 40 feet of water. He goes, "Just go get you some 6-pound braid, put about 9 feet of 6-pound test fluorocarbon on it, call it a day." And I went over and I talked to Robert Lee. I said, "Hey, you use 6-pound?" He goes, "Yeah, who doesn't?" I go, "Okay, I'm an idiot." So from that day on, I started putting 6-pound braid on my spinning rods, especially for my crappie. Did it for the black bass, did it on Columbia River, did it on Havasu, did it on Mead, and then on Clear Lake when I had to. But I used that 6-pound fluorocarbon, and I just realistically, I do about 4 or 5 foot 4 or 6 pound test fluorocarbon leader. and it just works great. And I like fins braid. And I like the white wind tamer, because I can see it. At Clear Lake, when I'm throwing that 6-pound braid out there, all I'm doing, like if I'm over by Henderson, or I find a big old, you're going over and you're metering, you can see this just shad, balls of shad, and you can see where that shad's at 12, and it's just 12 to 16, it's just a solid black line, and then you get to where it's all kind of scattered and broken up and all that stuff, and then it kind of, that's where I want to fish, where that black line is all broken up, because it's being worked, and usually it's being worked by largemouth and crappie. So, and the crappie at Clear Lake, you don't understand. They got a little bitty mouth like that, and they got a big old body like that. They're crazy. They don't even look real. And usually December, January, first part of February, I get a bunch of guys that start to send me pictures of 25 crappie that weighs 77 pounds without a 4-pounder. Mm-hmm. And they, the small one on the stringer is 288, and the big one's, 346. And it's like, you got to be kidding. They're 3-pound crappie right across the board. I mean, and you will go to Clear Lake, and you will, on a bad day, you will have 40 to 60. And then, like when I was guiding, I would finish with my clients, and I had my buddies at the house. We would stay at Wally Smith's house, and I would take my buddies out. And the last 3 hours of the evening, we get 150 crappie bites. Throwing Roadrunner jigs around the dock, 6-pound fluorocarbon line, put that little bit of tippet on there, and doing some of the stuff that I will eventually talk to you about. I know I like to tell stories about all that kind of stuff, but I'm telling you, you got to try it. You're going to be the superstar dad. You're going to be the superstar mom if you go take your kid out and get them up there catching crappie at Clear Lake. Now, I didn't bring any floats. I used to never do the float and fly thing. But again, Bill Simmentel, he started doing this for big largemouth back in the day. Lake Casitas, Lake Castaic, all that stuff down south. And what Bill would do, he had a passion for crappie also. Crappie taught him, you can learn so much about your bass fishing by fishing for crappie, okay? You take baits like this right here. See that little guy right there? This is the type of a bait that you're going to use on your float and fly. You're going to put a 1/16 or a 1/64 ounce head on that bait right here. And I'm almost always going to start with that head on this bait, okay? 16th ounce, 64th ounce. And like if we're fishing where we're going to, if you're over there at Henderson and you found where that bait's broken up and you got 26 feet of water, but those fish are at 12 to 14, you're going to use that. You're going to use that 32nd ounce. You're going to use that maybe 16th, depending on how good they're biting. If they're, there's going to be days where you throw an 1/8 ounce there and it's sinking like a rock and it just stops. You're watching that line, you're watching that white braid go across and it just stops. You know that it's 24 feet deep. You know it's 28 feet deep. And you're counting it down, 1,008, 1,009, 1,010, and your line just stops. Just wind it and pull. He's on. It's awesome. They'll eat it. They're suspended. They see that thing coming down and they just eat it and they sit there. There's no ticking of the line, none of that stuff. It just stops. So you can start with your 1/8 ounce. You throw an 1/8, one guy throws a 16th. It's falling right through. No, back it off. Go with a 64th, maybe even down to a 32nd. If you're throwing a 32nd, now you got to have 4-pound tip. Okay? And it's a big deal. But another way these fish will suspend if you're fishing the docks. You got your shade line, you got your sun coming up here, your shade's over here, the dock's right here, but it's got 100% sunlight underneath it, but your shade line is out 10, 5, 6, 8 yards away from your dock. Well, that's where your crappie are. And one of the best ways to catch those crappie, get you a 32nd ounce head on this guy right here, or actually this guy. Nope, that's got the curl tail on it. We'll get to that. On this guy right here, this guy. We're going to take this guy right here. Some colors call it monkey mount. I can't see what's that color. What color do they call it? Blue pearl pepper. Take that in a clear water situation, Berryessa, Clear Lake, whatever, Lake McClure, Pedro. Get that right there. Put it on this head right here, or this head right here. You got this guy. Yeah, here we go. What size is that? Is that a?
1/32.
That's a 32nd ounce head right there. Put it on this guy right here, okay? And get you a float. Put you a bobber. and put that guy about that deep, and you throw that joker over there, and hey, this is old school, like you're 5-7 years old again. You throw that joker out there, you got your bobber out there, and you got your bait, and it's just, all it is, it's suspended, it's sitting there, and you're floating right through that school. They're not going to chase it. They don't want it coming down. They don't want it moving through. They're not going to chase. They're completely inactive, but crappie are suckers for things that are coming through their zone. Not herky-jerky, not shaking. At home right now, all the crappie that I'm catching, I'm using a 10-foot rod. I'm using the stuff that we're talking about right here. I'm using actually this color right here, electric chicken. I hope none of the Texas boys are watching because I'm using this right here. Okay? I've got a 10-foot rod. I use 15-pound because our water, you can see down about that far. So I'm using an electric chicken with a San Francisco shad head. I'm using 1/8 ounce, and I'm fishing bushes. I'm finding them with my sonar, 2D sonar, live scope, doesn't matter. It does matter but when I'm over the top of it, right? I'm over the top, or it's right out in front of me, and I helicopter in and I helicopter out. I've got to go straight in. I've got it because the bushes are like this, and I've got to go straight in with my jig because these crappie, there'll be holes in these bushes, and that's where they'll congregate. I've got to get my crappie jig down. If I pitch out and I let it pendulum back, I'm going to get hung up out here. Okay, so I just straight in, and sometimes when I pull out, I'll get hung up. If I feel any pressure, I'll stop and I'll shake it. And that hook will kick, and I can pull it out, and I'll drop to another spot, and I cannot move it. I cannot move it, okay? Very, very key. That's why the tail that I have is like that. Now, when I'm looking for crappie, when I'm searching for crappie, like if you're at Clear Lake, April, when they start to get ready to spawn, they like it moving. They like stuff that you can go look for them with this type of stuff, with this type of cool stuff, like Roadrunner style baits with a little bitty blade. This is my search bait when I go to Clear Lake. I take this guy right here, and I'll usually doll it up with a little something on the back, and I got my 6-pound fluoro, and all I do is I pitch to docks, let it sink down, and I just start shaking it a little bit like this, and just winding in very slow. Keep my rod at about 10, 11 o'clock, just like that, and just with a slow wind, and it's just a little tick, and then at the end of the day, at the end of 2 days, I'll have a pretty good idea what docks got them, which ones don't, and then by the third day, it's 200 a day. And you tell people that, and they're like, come on. No, 200 a day. And when you find them right now, I mean, we're getting ready for Christmas. There's people that go up there that they'll get 12 dozen minutes to go crappie fishing, 10 dozen minutes to go crappie fishing. And they'll burn up all of them, and they'll catch some big bass when they're doing that too. And then they start, instead of, let's not do the crappie thing, let's go do the bass thing. So it turns into that kind of a thing too. But you will have times when you find those crappie, especially suspended out off the bank, you can have 2, 3, 4. It sounds crazy. You can have 2, 3, 400 crappie days. Insane. If you have a couple people in the boat. I'm talking every cast. And it's amazing. It's awesome. But these are some of the things that you can do if you want to be dad of the year or mom of the year in the eyes of your 5 to 10, 5 to 16, 5 to 60-year-old. I'm telling you. Okay. So that's just some of the options that you have here in Northern California. So go knock yourself out.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to stop on down to Fisherman's Warehouse. Of course, all this came directly out of our warehouse here, so we've got it in stock for you guys. But it sounds like I need to plan myself a crappie.
We need to talk more about crappie, man. There's so much more to it.
I think I'm going to ditch the bass fishing thing and join you on the crappie side, maybe. So, 300 or 400 fish a day sounds great.
Absolutely.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.